Welcome back to the shop. Today we're back on our 47 fat-fendered Ford that we affectionately call Fat Fanny. I still say that's a lot of F words in one sentence. Today we are going to make the passenger side front door armrest that we're missing for this car. I've also got a bunch of other stuff to share with you, some exciting surprises, some ideas, some things that I've come up with on moving forward on this interior. It's exciting stuff, so don't go away. I'm Mike and you're watching My Car Shop. So this is the part as well as the piece that goes inside of here that we're missing. I don't want to pull this door panel off yet, but I do want to get this piece fabricated today. And we will have to pull the door panel off to make the piece that goes inside and so forth. But I'm trying to let this door panel warp as much as possible before we upholster it, because we don't want to put the material on it and then have it put it on the car. And what's going to happen is it could potentially, the material could sag in here even though we're going to glue it. Because if you think about it, the length of something that's flat versus the length of something that's bowed is a little different. So this material could slack up as we bend it because you're shrinking this panel just ever so slightly. I don't know that it has enough curvature to worry about, but it would be better if this had a slight curvature to it as we put the upholstery on it. So anyway, I'm not taking this off. I'm just going to make a couple templates, and we're going to make a reasonable facsimile of this to put on the other door. And I got to think about how I make it in reverse so that I make this piece the same, but this piece needs to be the other way to go on that door. So let me get some template cardboard and we'll mock something up here real quick. And well, you know, in the end, there'll be mockers and scoffers. So we're going to mock today. You guys can scoff. So there we go. We got our two pieces cut out. This is the bottom part. This is the top part that we traced. And I flipped it around, reversed it. It was like this when I traced it, but we're going to take this top and flip it the other way. But I'm also going to join all of this together with tape, and the two shall become one flesh. And that'll give us a nice template to use to trace onto the metal. So basically our new panel will be like this. That should be it, because on the car here, this is to the back, okay? And I traced that around by rubbing my finger on the cardboard and then taking the marker and I just put it against it and it works good. And the top I traced like this by going around it, and then we just inverted that. So we're going to go check it and make sure that it's right and that it's copacetic and not so pathetic. So here's what we got. This is the way I traced it. It was just like this, two pieces. I went around here and then I rubbed my finger around this edge. This piece fits very nicely down here, matches that pretty well. Looks like it's a little bit, oh, I'm too far that way now. Okay, so it just needs to, there we go. Perfect and perfect enough. I will make it just a little bit bigger on this edge because there is a rolled edge on here. I don't know how I'm going to do that, if I'm going to do that, but I probably will give it a shot. But we're close. So, you know, 4 feet away from each other, as long as they look reasonably close, by the time they're covered with upholstery, it'll be just fine. Okay, just using edges that I don't have to cut, make it easier on myself. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be done. I'm also going to note where my bend line is. When I cut this, I'm going to cut it just a little on the large side to try to do that rolled edge if I can. Here's the other bend line right there. Viola. Okay, so our line goes here to here. So I'm going to take a straight edge across there real quick, get that done, and then we can start cutting this out. Just another thing to note, I always want to make sure that I put my thing on here. So when I go to bend this, I do it right. I remember that, oh yeah, this is the top, so I need to bend it this way. This needs to be like this. It's easy to forget that and bend something the wrong way, and then you just created scrap metal. So I think I'm going to, and we'll get that cut out. Okay, I left myself a little extra edge so I can roll that edge over. Also, I wanted to mention, you'll notice that when I cut it over on this side, I was using my red-handled snips. The red ones are the left-handed ones. And when I cut this edge here, I was using my right-handed ones. Any idea why? Okay, I'll tell you. I don't want my piece to get bent, and so the curl of the metal is always on the side that your snips are labeled. So a left-handed one will leave the metal on the left flat and curl the metal that you're not cutting, that you're not using, away. So yeah, I got a job of work to straighten all that out, but my main thing was my piece came out perfectly flat. So when I came over here, I didn't want the curl of the metal to be on the left side, so I used my right one so that I could peel the metal up this way, okay? So that's why the difference between those two. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my notch technique here so that I can put this in the sheet metal brake and bend it. I think that's my next step. Got to think about that for sure. Or do I want to roll this edge first? Let me ponder. For those of you who haven't been around for our fabrication series, we put little notches like this in there so that when we put it in the sheet metal brake, we're not line dependent. I'll show you what I mean. So in order to bend this, it's easy for me to just put this in here and line that up on the line, clamp down and bend, right? Because that's where my line is. Unfortunately, this needs to bend the other way. So in order to do that, I have to flip this. And with these notches in here, I know exactly where my line is. So I can just line up the notches on my clamp, like so. Boom. And now I can bend that, and I know that this is the bottom. It's going to bend over, and the top will be the top. Boom, just like that. Okay, so that's why we notch, in case you haven't seen that before. We don't have to try to figure out how to turn this over and draw the line on the other side. Two little right where the bend's going to be isn't going to hurt a thing. And it transfers that line perfectly through the back without having to draw anything. You'll also note that I haven't cleaned the back of that metal up yet. I got to dress my edges and so forth, but when I clean the metal up, I don't have to worry about the lines disappearing, right? Because it's there permanently. So no problem at all then with that. Doing the bead roll thing here and just trying to form a little bit of a rounded edge on that. Using the soft wheel underneath. And I'm just going along, bending it up to try to get a rolled edge, and then we'll finish it off with a hammer. It ain't going to be perfect, but it will be done. You just fold that over as much as you can. It's a bit of a challenge, but if you're patient, you can do it. My motorized bead roller unit was just out here, but she had someplace to go, so she wasn't able to help me. But this one isn't too bad to do on your own. Okay, so we're getting this edge rolled around now. It's probably close enough. I'm probably going to just do the rest of it by hand, but we've got a nice finished edge here basically, and we're rolling around now. So what that does is prevent from cutting the upholstery before we bend, when we put the upholstery on this. Going along and bending the edge. And we don't have to worry about this warping because this is such a small little edge. Looks good. A little more, maybe. Pretty happy with that. I think I'm going to take pliers and just give me a little more lip on it, and we should be good to go. But here's what we've got so far. I'm really liking that. I just want to get a little rollback on it if I can. Not the end of the world, but once we get it where I want it, then we'll just take our grinder and grind it up a little bit, clean the edge up, and I still need to clean up the back side as well, of course. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be done. But all I'm doing is just using my little vice grips here. My China locks, I guess they are. Just pulling it around so we don't end up with a sharp edge that will cut the fabric or anything. Okay, that looks really good. I really like that. So I got a couple little whoops right there I want to straighten out real quick. Just because I'm anal that way. Yeah, very good. I don't think we need to go much more than that, even though the factory one does bend around a little bit more. Well, we could. Let's do this. Actually, that's working pretty good. Let's use the other side, a little rounder. Oh, this is working beautifully. I didn't expect that. Yeah, looks really good. So there's what we've got. So I'm going to take my grinder. I got one spot there to dress just a second, but I'm going to take my grinder and dress that up a little bit, and then we'll be golden. So let's fix that one. Where is it? Right there. So there's the back side. Our edges aren't perfect, but again, it's going to be covered with upholstery. I'm going to knock that one in just a little bit right there. Otherwise, maybe a little on that end. But overall, I think we look pretty good. So we're just about ready to put our bend in. Let me just take 1 second. Yeah, our end there is just a little bit wonked down. So, yep, we'll dress that up real quick. All right, now this is where our marks come into play, where we put those little cuts in there. So we're going to, I got to flatten this one spot out. Hold on. Okay, I made our marks a little bit bigger because they kind of disappeared with all the metal work that we did. But this is our top, which means this needs to bend this way to go on that door over there. So we flip this upside down, put this into our metal brake, line up the cut, give it a clamp. See where we're at. Look at that. We just made an armrest, boys and girls. It looks good. So we just made a mirror image to this right here. Okay, my front edge is angled back. I didn't realize that. No biggie. Well, actually, it's not bad. If our angle of the dangle is pretty close, we can straighten that up real quick. All I got to do is take a little metal out of here. So no problem there. Yep, that's one little flaw in the ointment, but I'm not going to worry about it. Like I said, and who's going to notice that? Somebody will. I guess I'll give them a free bottle of Super Clean. But yeah, we can take a little bit out of here. That ain't a big deal. Yep, we will. But I guess if that's the only hitch in our giddle, I'm happy. I'm just not sure how that happened. So where angle there is right, angle there is right. Yeah, you know what? It does angle back here a little bit. So I think this is just a little exaggerated because of this right here. Let me fix that real quick. Oh yeah, much better. Yep. And I think even though this one's still just a tiny bit exaggerated, by the time that's over there on that side of the car, you're not going to notice it. This is not straight up and down. It's definitely swooped back a little bit. So all good. I'm happy with that. Let's go fake where it goes on the other door real quick. Don't have to fake it much because we know those screw holes go here. So about like this, and then that angles down. So that's going to be the cat's meow. Yep, looks good. Good enough. Good enough for the girls whose arm will be against it. So the next thing that we will do when we take that one off, I need to make the wooden one for here. I have the material to do that now. I found it in the back room. So we can knock that out one day. This piece is pretty well done. When we take that one off, we will line up our screw holes exactly where they go. So we know exactly where this goes here against these two screw holes. And there's one more screw hole back here too. So let's, I want to shoot some primer or something on this to keep it from rusting, because otherwise it's going to rust. So let's do that. And we'll be right back. There she goes. She's in black primer now. That'll be good enough for now. Let her dry, and we'll go talk about some other things while we're waiting. Whew, it's hot in here. Not just in the car, it's just hot in the shop. So I was looking at pictures of door panels and rear quarter panel pieces like this for these cars, and I noticed that there was a piece of stainless that goes on these panels here right around the window crank, and I thought, man, I think I have those. So I went and dug around, and sure enough, I do. What they look like is this right here, and they go, let's see, this is the one for the other side. They go right on here like this. So there's this one. We can do this. And they go right on here like this. That's going to provide a beautiful accent. That's crooked. But anyway, that's going to provide a beautiful accent on these doors to have this thing on there, or not on the door, on this quarter panel trim, or on this quarter panel in upholstery. To have that on there like that is just going to be awesome. So I'm really excited. I have both of those. And then the other thing that I got is, it's going to be a lot of gray on here. First of all, we got to cut 6 inches off the bottom of this panel. But I just wanted to break it up. I don't mind it being just a plain gray panel, but I was digging around and I thought maybe I did have the original pieces, but I don't. However, I did find this. And so this can go on here about like that. And I have one for the other door as well. And it's just a nice piece of stainless that will provide a break. If I wanted to sew a different color fabric on the bottom down here before we do that panel, I can. I don't know that I want to. I could also just dye the fabric down here a different color, but I don't mind it all being necessarily the same. I don't mind it being very plain. But I have a pair of those. Those are actually off of, here they are. Those are off of a Dodge pickup door. And the one I have is off of a fender, but they're the same thing. And I just wanted something to break up the panel a little bit. And that's going to do an amazing job of breaking that up. So contrary to what the popular song said, breaking up is not hard to do if you dig through your junk and see what you got. So that's cool. I love it. I mentioned I found one more piece of that board to make that door panel, so we'll be doing that in an episode soon. and we'll get that put on there. We're giving this just time to warp a little bit, as I mentioned, but we're not far from being able to make these door panels exactly the way they need to be made, and we could, at some point here in the not too distant future, we will be gluing and stapling our fabric onto our door backers. Turned out absolutely beautiful. Couldn't be happier with that. Lots more coming on this car. As I keep mentioning, Becky plans to, next weekend, she plans to help me get the wiring wrapped up on this car and get that done. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll have brake lights by the end of that weekend also. But if not, we'll at least get everything else permanently attached, functioning, and not so much ham and egg, everything in wire looms. And that's something that has to happen before we can actually put the interior in the car as well. But huge progress here on Fat Fanny. I appreciate you joining me. And yeah, drop your comments down there. We'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget, it's important. Rock!